that is always um
Sorry.
so turn it over.
Hi. It's my turn now, Joe.
It is. The
Okay.
floor is yours.
Okay. So, hello everyone. I'm really excited to be here, happy to be here in community. Um, so Let's Get Free is an organization that's based in Pittsburgh that's been around for about 10 years. And for the last 7 years, we've had art shows and it kind of came about organically. And I guess I want to ask Shreya if you could um put the slides on, and we were just gonna flip through them as we as I talk. And so I might be, if people have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or you can even, I welcome you to interrupt me. Um, and so what we're going to be seeing is a collage of images from the last 6 years of art shows. Um, and that was the one Dustin was at with the Life Size Solitary Confinement show. So let's see. Yeah, Let's Get Free. So we started the first show, Contraband, with those leaves that you saw at the beginning. And Todd Hyungray Tarselli is one of my oldest friends who's incarcerated. He used to write to the Books of Prisoner program. And he was like, Etta, I want to do a show of my leaves. And I had all of this artwork in the house from a show that we had wanted to do in 2005. It wasn't a show, it was a project called the Prison Poster Project. And we were trying to create essentially what Ava DuVernay did with the film 13. We wanted to create that collaboratively with incarcerated artists. And we generated all of this artwork to use the images and voices of incarcerated people to talk about mass incarceration. And you can go faster even with the slides because there's a lot of them. And I'm not going to talk the whole time, and I can get really off on a tangent because there's just so much information. But so like this image from Dwayne DJ, he just got out 2 weeks ago. So we've been in community for over 15 years. But all of these images, this is what the healthcare system is in prison. All of these images were just sitting in my house for 10 years. And so to get them out of the house, we decided to put them in an art show with TR's leaves. And that was, we didn't intend to have a yearly art show. We didn't know it was going to be so successful, but it was amazing and successful. And so we just started like, hey, let's do it again. And one thing that's special about our art shows is that it's not just incarcerated artists, as also artists in solidarity with ending mass incarceration, which I think is pretty special. Like that, what you're seeing right there, if you want to pause, is this was from this show called Letters in Liberation, which actually this lamp behind me is also from the show. We made art out of the hundreds and hundreds of letters that I stockpiled that I couldn't throw away, but then finally had to get out of the house. So we are like, let's make art out of them. This local artist, Jen Gooch, made this weaving that's backlit there that says redemption. And it's made with about 50 different letters, for example. So let's see. I guess you can just keep going with the slides. Here's more letters. They're so awesome, so beautiful. So I guess I don't even, it just feels so big. I don't even know what to say. This last show that we had 65 incarcerated artists. We had about 45 artists in solidarity. We had over 180 pieces of art on the walls. It's an epic endeavor. And what comes out of it is that it creates community. It creates community across the walls. It creates meaningful ways to participate for people incarcerated and not incarcerated. It builds relationships. And people get involved in it's a pathway for people to get involved in the movement. So not only does Let's Get Free do the art show, but we also organize to end mass incarceration. So we're very involved with the commutation process, which is a clemency process here in Pennsylvania, which is the only avenue for people with life sentences to find relief. And most of the people that we work with are life sentence people. And, you know, just as all of this art is flying by, I see people and stories, and I can tell you the stories. Like that's a little gravestone of Khalifa, who was on our prison advisory board, and somebody made that because we gave them the stories of people, and then artists on the outside, creative art related to that. There's Elena House. Hey, Dustin's good friend. I love that piece. That's how she feels incarcerated. She feels like she's on in a spaceship on another planet. I don't know, Dustin, do you have any questions for me? I could talk about the art that we're seeing.
So if people want to follow your work, Etta, where can you direct people? If there are things that call to actions, ways that people can get involved from where they are. If you could also talk a little bit about that as well.
Thank you so much for the question. So we have two websites, which can be confusing. We have like our organization website, which is letsgetfree.info. And that's like our organizing, there's films, and there's more about like our political campaigns. And then from there, we have the Creative Resistance website, which is the all of the art shows. Like you can see all of the past art shows from 2020 are now digitized. So you can go and look through the different art shows. So that's one way you can access our information. But I will say that I know this is a national group of people here, and we have a visiting program. So one way that people can get connected is that they can become a visitor, and you can do it through Zoom. So you can be anywhere in the country and you can Zoom in and visit with somebody incarcerated in Pennsylvania. And we actually have about 4 people in the women's prisons who have written to us recently. So we have a surplus of people who are incarcerated who would like a visit. So that's one way to get involved. Also, if you want to make art for our art show, we're starting now. We're about to put our call to art out. So if you get on our mailing list, you can hear about the call to art. If you're in Pennsylvania, you should call and join our group.
Thank you, Etta. And now I get the pleasure of introducing to you all someone I have grown to love and admire. Um, our current artist in resident, Kal-El Carey. And I'm just going to read a quick little snippet. Kal-El Carey is an African American trans male who is currently incarcerated in a Pennsylvania women's state prison. They are also a painter and writer and a sports fanatic, I quickly found out. And I will just say the tenacity of Kal-El comes through in their art. And so I just want to welcome to you all, Kal-El, and we're going to do this conversation style. But if you have any questions that you would like to get answered, if you can drop them in the chat, I'll be sure to get them asked. So, Cal, you have coined a style of painting called Z-coded. Can you share with us where the term Z-coded came from?
And so Z-coded is a term that they use in Pennsylvania state prisons to house someone. It's a sometimes it's mental health reasons. Sometimes it's because it can be violent and cannot live with another or be housed with another cellmate. And most of the time it's because of mental health reasons. It's mental health is a real big issue in state prisons because the state of Pennsylvania doesn't really have any mental health facilities, so they house them here, and either they house them in a Z code or they house them in something like that's kind of like the RHU, which they might call like the DTU or something similar. Z code is basically if you're different. I looked at it as if you're different and you're not embodying the norms of what they feel like a human being is how they're supposed to be or act or anything outside of what they're used to seeing in their life growing up, they label you different. So um, I just love Z Code. It's like Z Code. Like I'm just different. I'm not like everybody else. We're different, and just because we're a little bit different doesn't not necessarily make us like um. It's not a normal for us. Um, Z Code also is uh in prison. It's it's looked at it as for the inmates as like something that's kind of like Stratford. If you're a Z coder, you kind of get looked at as like, okay, so the state hates you, or the state doesn't like you for some particular reason. So it's a status symbol, and so I just love what it represented. To kind of like just it's not their normal. I guess if I had to put it into sum it up, it's not their normal, and it's different. Z coded means just different. We're different from them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're bad people or that we should be locked away because we're different or put somewhere because we're different. Like everybody should recognize people's differences. So
Yeah.
that's what Z coded.
And can we back up slides? Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about, because I don't think I didn't understand what all artists in prison have to go through. So can you also talk a little bit about some of the challenges of being an incarcerated artist, and ways that you think those of us on the outside can support more?
Wow.
And Cal, just so you know, we're looking at like Thug's Mansion right now, and then the latest piece that you sent Joe.
Okay. So
Can you put thugs up on the screen?
you have to be self-disciplined to have any kind of hobby or thing that you are passionate about because there's a lot of distractions in prison. And if you don't find something that you love to do, somebody will find something that you love to do for you. And it's something I came by just out of just a humbug. I went to make a card for a friend of mine, her daughter's birthday, and I painted a cat in a hat, and it came so easy to me, and it just took me like away from where I was at the time. I'm sitting in the common room, I'm doing nothing. You just play cards and gossip and other things going on, but So I painted it, and it was like it came easy, and it was just because I cannot draw. First, let me just state that I cannot with a pencil and paper. I cannot draw at all. But when I pick up a paintbrush, the dimensions come easier because I think the colors kind of puts everything in perspective for me, and it comes easier to make straight lines and circles and ovals and things like that. It just came so easy to me. So I kept doing it, kept doing it. The struggle with it is first when you order some paint, you're only allowed so many paints. And I was talking to Joe about this. So some people paint with hard body acrylics, but I tend to paint with fluid acrylics because the paint lasts longer. Um, it takes months for you to get an order of paint. It takes about almost 3 months for you to even get your order of paint. That's one. You're only allowed 6 canvases. Um, it's not really much besides that and some stencils and maybe some drawing pencils. some watercolor paper, like you really can't get a lot of the things that you want to do as far as paint. So my thing was I took what I could get and I made the best of it. I taught myself how to blend and mix colors and with just a limited amount of paint that we're allowed to have. With that limited amount of paint, you better know how to mix paint, because if you don't, you'll be out of paint real fast, and then you gotta wait another 3 months for you to be able to pick up some more paint. But paint's also like kind of expensive for an inmate. It's one order can take you past $150. And for us, we only make cents on a dollar at our job. So without family support or any kind of support, if you want to save up to get some paint, it's probably gonna take you 6 to 9 months to save up for it. Then another 3 months, you're looking at maybe a year if you don't have the kind of support that you need to be able to even order paint. I don't know. I fell in love with it. Doing like cards for people and just little things for people's kids and their moms and things like that. And I used it as a way to also support myself while incarcerated. Doing cards and little things like that. So doing the small stuff, I got better and better and better. So I was like, so let me start doing big things, or let me start doing intricate things. So once I started learning my own style, I loved it. Urban abstract surrealism. My favorite two painters is Juan Miro and Salvatore Dali. So plus I love graffiti, and I love to paint like things that represent certain things to me. So I'm like, all right, so what could this be? So I just called it urban abstract surrealism, and everything I paint is something close to what I'm going through, or it's close to heart, so it's emotional to me. So it might mean something emotional to me. It can mean something that I'm upset about. It can be something that I'm sad about, or that I love, or I paint like whatever I'm probably feeling at the time that I'm putting something down on the canvas. Is probably something that I'm thinking about at that time. Like I could be mad at a guard, and I might paint something, I don't know, like my skull and crown. I think that came out a little bit out of anger, maybe. So like that was like my first signature thing that I actually did on my own. Like this is mine. So I just kept it, and so like I would say my trademark is skulls with crowns. Um, So to me, it just represents a whole lot of things to me. Like being in prison, sometimes I feel like you just buried alive. Like you're alive, but people tend to forget that sometimes. So the skulls, or they can represent the meaning of death, but not really. Like you're still like alive, and not only are you alive, you still have purpose. You can be a king, a queen. You can still do things that the people on the outside they do. Like that's another thing that I really want to show other inmates, that you can do things still outside of these fences. You don't need these fences to limit you. So this is all that you should be doing, is just sitting around playing cards and reading hood books. And getting into things that the things that you shouldn't do in prison. So I like to talk to people too, like, listen, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like maybe you should write that, or get one, let's get free. Like turn something in. Like you can draw, or you can do this. Like you don't have to be limited to just prison. Because that's what they want you to think, that you're here and this is all you will ever be. And I just wanted to break out of that.
Thank you for that, Cal. I want to talk about two paintings. Um, the first one is one of my favorites. The one that you submitted, What Does Free Look Like? And Shreya, that's the black and white one that goes to abstract color. So one thing I picked up very quickly when we would talk about your art is how you rely on symbolism a lot. Um, and now that I know that Salvador Dali is your one of your favorite painters, I'm starting to see how that use of symbols carries over into your work. And so what we have on screen is what does free look like? And so can you talk about some of the symbols in it? Because you start us on the left side with the black and white kind of abstracted image, and we move to the center, and then we move back to a more vibrant abstracted image. And so if you can just walk us through some of those things, and then we'll also touch base on your biggest painting to date that you sent us. And so yeah.
Okay, so when I first got the email where the Let's Get Free Ortho was, the thing was, what does freedom look like? And I'm like, man, wow, okay. I don't even smell the streets anymore. I don't know what, I've been down 18 years. I don't know what freedom looks like. So I got to thinking about it, and then it just came to me emotionally, like, okay, so what does freedom look like? So in the beginning, it was just, you couldn't even see freedom. Like, it was just like what? Like, when you first start in your sentence, it's like chaos. Like, you don't know what to do with the thing. You don't know. It's just everywhere. Like, but you don't see an end. Like, you don't see an ending. You just see nothingness of foreverness of nothingness. So during my years, going through, I have become. I won't say I'm like religious, like Rick, but I had reconnected with, I guess a religious part of me that I didn't really remember that I had. But it sounds like, I guess me and God, we're rebuilding a relationship. So a lot of my symbols, religious, but yet not. I didn't want to get too religious, I guess. I don't know, but I think about that stuff a lot, like the end freedom. Like, is that the freedom that we're supposed to have? Like, when you die, is this the freedom that was promised to you, that you read about in the Bible? So, I built the gateway to heaven, of course, through the stone and clay. And then I started thinking about things that touch me emotionally, like my character with the wings and the hoodie. Like, I think about that a lot, because it's like, just because you wear certain things or do certain things and you carry yourself a certain way, or you was born in a certain place, does not mean that you can't enter the kingdom of heaven. There are my lotus with I don't know if I want to call them a gargoyle, but like, we all have inner demons. Just because you have certain inner demons that you won't be accepted into the kingdom of heaven either. I'm transgender, so the male body and the female body, where I swap the heads. That's me looking at myself transitioning. I also think I put that there, like, on the altar, is like, I'm still marrying myself. Like, I accept both sides. of course, God made the sun, so the sun has to play second fiddle to the kingdom of heaven. So that's why I put the sun there. Um, I always felt like there were, angels somewhere in my vicinity that, have been protecting me through my crazy times. And my hourglass, where I don't really know. I'm trying to catch time. I don't really know, when my time is going to get here or when I'm going to leave, go anywhere, or leave prison. So I'm trying to catch it. And yeah, God, I think God's still telling me like you just gonna have to just let it flow. I'm still gonna be here. So that was the freedom I was looking at in the center. So then I thought about what if I do leave? So if I leave, it'll be all these colors, but I can't put a picture to it. Like I know it'll be colorful, it'll be lively, it'll be something that it's something that I dream about, but I can't put a picture to it. So that's why I put the colors in the third panel of the thing.
Well, well, thank you, Cal. We're gonna pause here and see if people have questions. And so, um, we got a chat comment from Deborah. Not a question, but appreciating the reminder to make art regardless of the feelings coming up, to just go to the canvas, the page, etc. And so that was just an appreciation from Deborah. Any other questions? Feel free to put it in the chat or come off mute.
Am I heard? Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I just want to give a shout out to my cousin. That's my cousin. I want to give a shout out and I love your work. I love you. I love your work, and stay strong. Keep it up. I appreciate it.
I'm glad you showed up. Thank you.
Yeah. This is your cousin Amir.
Hello, man. I appreciate y'all showing up. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It means something.
Cal, your mom is asking what's next for you.
Man, a lot of things that I wanna do. Like my main focus right now is I want to start a G-coded clothing line. That I want to just show people that they can do these certain things from prison. So yeah, I want to open my own clothing line from here and continue to paint. Like I have to do that for my mental health. So paint and on my own clothing line.
Sharif, do you have any questions for Cal as our other artist in residence?
Hi, everybody. Cal, just sending so much love and appreciation to you. I can't imagine what it must be like to just have limited amount of resources to be able to like work with and really to just like feed yourself in that way that needs to be fed as an artist. And so just sending lots of love, and I thank you for sharing, and thank you for sharing your art. I had no idea of some of the like obstacles you had to overcome just to make this happen, and like that in and of itself just makes this all the more important to see and to sit with you. So just really appreciative of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So folks in the chat are asking, and Etta or Miss Karen, y'all can answer this as well. People are asking, the first question is, Cal, do you have any new paintings you're working on? And then the second question is, how can people buy your work?
Okay, so I'm always painting. So lately I have been like painting my ideas that I have for the clothing line that I want to start. But I'm always painting. I'm trying to master watercolors. Which people think watercolor should be easy, and trust me, it is not. And what was the second question?
Well, people can contact me, which the information is on the Z Coded website. And I just need to know if you want original first edition, second edition, or copies.
So, if you email me, joe@peopleshub.org, I can get you in touch with Miss Karen if you are interested in purchasing Cal's work. Any other questions?
Yeah, there was questions about Sin Money that we'll put in a follow-up to. Yeah.
And so I'm sure that we're like in the last few minutes, but if we can go to your newest painting, um,
Well, we're going to talk about that because we got like 3 minutes. So that's where I grew up at. That's like the front of my building is what I tried to capture in this painting. And it's such, for me, it's a metaphor for how people, want to treat people who they think come from these places. This is the stereotype that they think that we are. And I just wanted to represent where I come from, because just because I come from St. Clair Village or that kind of place doesn't mean my mind is stuck in these places. This is the misrepresentation of public housing, is what I call it, because they think these places here, especially me being incarcerated, these people who in these rural areas, these are the images they see us as when they look at us. They do not see us as human beings. They see us as a commodity, as a job they gotta come to, or children. They see us as children that they gotta chastise constantly. Like, I'm 47, and sometimes they try to talk to another human being as if they're 7. So I just wanted to capture that. There's a lot of symbols in this painting that I hold dear to me. We don't have enough time for me to talk about them all, but I'm hoping that people can see the symbols inside of this painting and have an understanding of why I called it the misrepresentation of public housing. The separation and misrepresentation of public housing.
Yeah, and just so you all know that Cal shared with me that this was one of their biggest paintings to date. This image, and I tried to take the best photos I could of it, but it's 4 separate panels. And so can you imagine trying to line up things to make sure that the full image gets composed correctly? And Cal shared that that was a big hurdle to cross with composing this within the space that Cal has at their disposal. So I just wanted to point that out because, yeah, it's a lot of important symbols in here with the viper and the bottle and those things. And so I'm just so grateful that I got to spend this year with Cal and getting to learn from Cal about many things that I did not know about. Yeah, just really appreciative of being able to be in community with Cal.
Are you able to show the other 2 panels?
These are all 4 put together.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. They're stacked.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're side by side.
Right. Okay. I see it.
Bye, Cal.
For showing up. I don't know when they're going to cut me off, but it's probably going to be soon. thank you to my family for being here. I really, really appreciate it. Haven't seen you guys in a while, so it's good to hear y'all voice.
Well, we're waiting for the next one.
We love you, Cal.
Love you.
I love you, Cal. Love you.
Love you.
Hey, Cal. Miro is one of my favorites as well. So is Salvador Dali. Actually, I had a couple of Salvador Dali lithos, but you know, it sort of disappeared on me. Through transition. My transitioning from house to house, but yeah, Salvador Dali and Miro, I love them both as well.
There was another artist, Amir, you wanted me to refer to her.
Oh, Jean-Michel Basquiat.
Oh, I'm a huge fan of his, and so I can also pass that information along. So can we all just put some appreciations in the chat for Cal? And yeah, be on the lookout.
Hello.
I'm going to put in the chat ways that you all can write to Cal. Because please, if you can, send letters, postcards, just to let Cal know what this moment meant to you would be great. And so I dropped the chat in the chat, the place where you can do so. We are going to take a 5-minute break, and then we're going to hear from our other artist in residence, Sharif. And so please do what you need to, and we'll be back in 5 to continue the celebration of tonight. Dustin, by chance, do you have Sharif's song handy?
Yeah, I can go ahead and play it. I'll play one of them.
We must advocate and promote nonviolence at every opportunity, but we cannot endorse a narrow politics of respectability that shames Palestinians for resisting, for refusing to do nothing in the face of state violence and ethnic cleansing. We have an opportunity.
We chant for freedom, they chant for death. We chant for dignity, life, and respect. We chant for justice and they chant for violence. Palestine resistance will never be silenced. Timeless, the people always fight back. React when an occupying force attack. Never fall in line, fire in our eyes. We the children of the land you call Palestine. Every single day they try to occupy, uprooted, looted, and booted for all them dollar signs. No compromise, we decolonize. We erasing occupation in our current time. And yeah, we see the signs, freedom is nothing we choose. Hands tied, our people got nothing to lose. Living out our truths, we collecting dues. That's why we breaking out of prisons using dinner spoons.
Can you see the pain in the eyes from the bombs that drop from the sky? Why you turn your ears from our cries? From the rubble our people will rise. From the river to the sea, from the roots of the olive trees. Justice is what we need. Palestine or we'll be free. Free to live with a dream and a future. Free to not worry that a Zionist will shoot ya. Free to tell the truth without censorship. Freedom of education, life and movement. Cause where are they gonna go when the bombs fall? How you saying coexistence while you're building walls? Let me just clarify, we've been terrorized. It's easy pointing fingers at those with no rights. We fight for freedom for our people and our homeland. Palestine, a history stolen. The soul of the land roams in the olive groves. And love is held in the stones that protect our homes. Dignity can't be compromised and resistance is justified. When the people are occupied, the truth has risen, it won't sink now. Making these complicit people to think now.
To not just offer solidarity in words, but to commit to political action, grassroots action, local action.
Come on, y'all. From the Haitian engineer, every camp in between. Resist against the fascists, we was war machine. No Zionist dialogue up for debate. Ain't no two states, they want the whole 48. People uprising, Palestine flags through the bleachers. While children at the freedom theater, they gon' lead us to the victory. Until the empire starts to fall. And we all heed the call from the martyrs on the wall. Fuck all social media, erasing our posts. The folks still got together just to block that boat. No Israeli products. This ain't a conflict. It's just a calling for anyone with a conscience. It's been an honor just to rock with y'all in partnership. And we ain't falling for the pink washing politicians. Sling shots with rocks just to protect their mama. Since the Nakba, but it's long lived the Intifada.
An international action that will give us what justice requires. And that is a free Palestine from the river to the sea. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time.
How you get closer to love? How you eliminate all your sadness when you opening up? How you make excuses for billionaires you broken up with? Sunny niggas around me rolling up and smoking me up. Because when rainforest cries, everybody dies a little. And I just wanna dance tonight. And I just wanna dance tonight. Yeah, he my little baby Medusa, tipping the juice up. I go back and forth in a Uber, travel for 2 months. I'm the emptiest, hallelujah. Open my chest up, it's a rabbit inside my head.
It's always so hard to turn the music off for me. Yeah, so I'm just gonna turn it over to Sharif. Please leave some time for these good folks to ask you some questions, because I'm sure by the end of your presentation, they're gonna have a lot of them. But can you introduce yourself and let people know where you're currently at? Because I think that's important.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe, Dustin, Shreya, everyone who's a part of this. I don't know if you can hear the background. I'm currently actually at City Hall in San Francisco, where they're introducing a ceasefire resolution in the Bay Area. We've had ceasefire resolutions in Richmond, Oakland, and even though we know a ceasefire resolution in and of itself doesn't do much for a movement, with all of these cities, especially in the Bay Area, pushing for resolutions, that makes a clear message to our federal government, especially San Francisco, having close ties to Kamala Harris, that it's important that we stand on the right side of history. And I'm not exaggerating, there is almost 2,000 people in line for public comment today. It is bananas. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, but I am currently in a private, still hear people shouting. I don't know if you could hear it through my computer. My name is Sharif Zakut. I'm an organizer, a cultural worker, specifically for the organization AROC, the Arab Resource and Organizing Center, a little bit about art, resistance, and really the need to continue pushing cultural work. Folks can hear me all right? Okay, cool. This is for that kid in Gaza searching for Superman, who sees Apache copters dropping bombs that shake the land. Whoa, damn, this shit preposterous. Open air prisons hit with clouds of white phosphorus. The rocket took his father, the shrapnel had hit his sister, big brother became a martyr to fight off unwanted visitors. And you know where I stand. Resist, respect that shit and check your privilege, because you ain't getting hit. And if you were, I'm sure you probably think the opposite. In fact, you know what? I'm pretty positive. Logic is safety should be most of our prerogative, but most of us are operatives to profit off this monolith. And in 1948, didn't hesitate to shoot, displaced most our population time and time from their roots. Then they tried to hide the proof. Looks like 1492, different time, different place, the same white supremacist rule. Now I'm living in a land where the land sees me as an enemy, no liberty if you want to be, then it guaranteed that the FBI got an eye on the people who they set to spy. House arrest, stop and frisk, fund occupation through the colleges, BDS, yes, BDS, then they hit you with the claim you a terrorist. On the terror list, on the precipice, drone take out another nemesis, weapons tested in the Gaza Strip, sold to our pigs and they copy it. What the F seen every day, views on the news getting us played. We gotta mobilize, we gotta organize, and if one dies, then another 10 will rise. We about returning liberation from Turtle Island to Palestine with self-determination, where we plant every tree, rebuild every home, and until we see that day, our resistance lives on. Thank you. So we can go back to the slides too. Thank you. So a little bit about myself. My name is Sharif Zakut again. I'm an organizer. My family is actually from the Gaza Strip. And especially in this moment, it's been a really tough moment for us in our community, and also really amplifies the importance of organizing, and by extension, the importance of artwork that has purpose, intention, and meaning behind it. I can even see folks now in the comments giving symbols of the watermelon. I wasn't even planning to talk about this, but even that symbol has become so iconic, mainly because of the repression faced by Palestinians in sharing our flag and sharing our history. The watermelon has become a symbol for the Palestinian flag in so many ways. And that is just one small example of how art has really continued to show up for our movements. So my family is from Gaza, but I was born and raised in San Francisco. The song that you just heard in the break was also done with muralist Chris Ghazale and hip hop artist Equipto. Because we have this ceasefire resolution happening in San Francisco, Chris is not with us today, but I wanted to uplift his art real quick before I talk a little bit about my art. So Chris was initially going to be my my guest for this. And Chris, I would say right now, is probably one of the most influential muralists in the United States. He's based in San Francisco and based in Detroit. Let's go to the next one. And I love Chris's work, and why I wanted to really uplift him is because Chris, I feel like, really exemplifies the importance of showing international solidarity and making connections between what's happening in Palestine and what's happening here on Turtle Island, and especially all over the world in relation to settler colonialism and fighting back against repressive governments and repressive forces and fascism all over the world. So this piece you could see is Columbia to Palestine. This was a mural that was done in on the floor on the streets of San Francisco. Let's go to the next one. And this mural is actually one of the largest murals in San Francisco, and you could see it right when you go onto a freeway. And what I love about this is not only its vibrant colors, but really the imagery just showing kind of like the humanity and the culture of Palestinians. And I'll talk a little bit more about where we are in this current moment and level of dehumanization. But I really wanted to uplift Chris's art because he's someone who honestly inspires me a lot. Even though he is one of my friends, he is still also someone that I fan over, just as someone who loves his art. And so wanted to really share that with you all. In this piece, you can see the woman holding both a key in one hand and an orange in the other hand. And both have become important symbols for Palestine. So the key, a symbol for us returning to our homes in Palestine. Palestine, for those of you who don't know, has been occupied for the last 75 years. And for the last 75 years, my grandma, she was expelled when she was 8 years old. Many of our families still hold the keys to our homes, and many families actually end up giving them to the next generation because one day we expect that we will be able to return to our lands. On the other side, you also see the orange, and the orange is also an important symbol for Palestine because for us as Palestinians, many of us have grown fruits like oranges, like watermelons, like olives, and those fruits have become important parts of our land and important parts of resisting our land. And for us, the land is everything because it provides us, it nourishes us, and it, you know, we have deep roots there in Palestine. And so we also see imagery of the wall that really is an apartheid wall that has been cut into our communities and continues to separate us. Let's go to the next one. And this was another piece that I just absolutely love. Chris has amazing colors. He has amazing ways of showing really intricate details and showing really broad things. So I love just the juxtaposition of the buildings. There's not a lot of details in the buildings, but if you look at the woman herself, you can see a lot of details, both in the water jug she's holding, in the embroidery she's wearing. I'm also wearing this embroidery on my keffiyeh, Palestinian scarf that's known for international solidarity with Palestine. This embroidery is common for women in our community to stitch up and has also become an important part of our culture. Let's go ahead to the next piece. And then, of course, the importance of art being accessible to our communities and the importance of being able to engage people with art. So this is actually an art piece. You can see the cones around it. What we had done for this particular piece back in 2021, at the height of the Sheikh Jarrah kind of issues that were happening, we actually invited families to create murals on the streets before we marched. So when people marched, we got to actually like see all the murals that were happening. And what I loved about this is different muralists, Chris specifically, actually outlined everything and kind of put color codes for everyone. So youth and others were able to just show up and paint together. And for me, I thought that was a very beautiful intersection of not just having art that represents our social justice movements, but also has art that is being shared with the community and able to be accessed by the community. Let's go to the next one. And I apologize if I'm going a little bit quickly. I'm hearing lots of just chants outside, so I'm like trying to be present at the same time. A little bit about AROC. I wanted to share this work that I do and how important it is. So I've been an organizer for AROC for the last 10 years, and AROC is a very unique organization. I'm biased as well, clearly, as someone who's from the organization, but I have a lot of love for this org. AROC has been around for about 15 years, and before that, we were ADC San Francisco, West Coast. So we've been in the Mission District of San Francisco since the 80s. And we are the primary organization that supports working class Arab and Muslim communities and provides services in Arabic, Pashto, Farsi, and wherever is needed for a community. AROC is only one chapter. We are not around the country. We are just based in the Bay Area. But what makes AROC so unique is we provide services. We have immigrant attorneys, and we provide advocacy programs. So we also provide youth programs in San Francisco and Oakland Unified. But that's all in the service of organizing. So we want to be able to provide material services for communities that they need as a way to be able to lower the burdens that they face here in this country, while simultaneously building power with them, building relationships with them, because ultimately organizing is all about relationship building. And of course, central to organizing, what's also important is the art and the culture that comes alongside our campaigns, that comes alongside that organizing. So we go to the next slide. AROC is known for several campaigns, and you may have heard some of them. So one campaign in particular that I want to uplift is called Stop Urban Shield. Stop Urban Shield was a broad coalition of people who came together in Oakland and the Bay Area, really to tackle what at the time was the largest weapons convening and training program for law enforcement. So some of you may have heard, for example, of Cop City, Atlanta. Before Cop City, there was Urban Shield. And I will say to folks who are keeping an eye on Stop Cop City, who are involved with Stop Cop City efforts, they can win. We proved that we can win against militarism. In the Bay Area, it took us 6 years, but we were finally able to kick out Urban Shield. And Urban Shield brought together police, CIA, FBI, DEA, ICE, Department of Homeland Security, including the Israeli army, the Bahraini army, and Mexican army, where on the weekend of 9/11, every year they would bring these forces together to train with each other, and then they would hold these different expos where they would actually train and like they can raffle off like sniper rifles and other things like that. They also had vendors like the Oath Keepers and others who were very racist, literally with shirts that said things like Black Rifles Matter, or would literally have all of their targets dressed in kufiyas. So clearly, Urban Shield was a program that really focused on militarizing our communities, when what we were actually demanding was proper first responders, was healthcare workers, was mental care workers, was folks who can deal with firefighting, not to militarize our communities. And this was something that took years to win, and we finally did. Let's go to the next piece. Another thing you may have heard about AROC from was something called Block the Boats. So back in 2014, we actually worked with labor, specifically with the ILWU Local 10, the International Longshoremen Warehouse Union. These are the workers. If you're, see the bottom picture, you see those photos of the ports, this is literally the workers who take gear off of the ships that are coming from all over the world to put them on trucks to distribute them throughout the Bay Area. So in 2014, we spent a month working with union workers to let them know that, hey, we are going to stop work, but we want you to stand in solidarity with us. We didn't want to do a one-time action. We actually wanted to be very intentional about building long-term solidarity with workers. In 2014, it took us about 5 days. We held down the Port of Oakland with over 5,000 people, and we were successful. And to this day, Oakland is the only city in the entire country that refuses to unload Israeli ships. They tried to come again 2 years ago in 2021, and instead of taking 5 days, it took them 5 hours to leave because the workers, we had built that solidarity with them, and they were saying, you know what, we are not going to cross that line. We refuse to unload these ships. And the workers actually are here right now speaking in favor of a resolution. So one of the beautiful things that came out of this campaign was that we were able to build long-term solidarity with workers. And on top of that, you can see the art was very important for that. Actually, I think it's in the next slide, but I made this art piece that I gifted to one of the workers, and they have it in there. Oh, it's not here. I'll share it in a second. But they gifted it to the head of the union, and to this day, it's sitting in the union hall. It says "Hella Solidarity with Palestine," and it's an art piece that we gifted. And so for us, it was a great symbol of like really a turning point in the Bay Area where labor was actually throwing in their cap for supporting the Palestinian people. Let's go next. And so the use of art in our resistance is nothing new, but particularly for Palestinians, I think it's important that we continue to show our art because it uplifts our movements, it empowers and represents our communities, and it inspires action. On the left, we see this mural by Edward Said, or not by, mural of Edward Said. This was done by students at San Francisco State University. To this day, and this was done, I want to say back in the 90s, to this day, people are trying to remove this mural. And it's a testament to the power of the mural because it's directly confronting really the Zionist propaganda that we have been hearing, the pro-Israel propaganda that is continuing to push for a genocide in our community. And this Edward Said mural continues to be a source of our resistance, specifically in San Francisco State. The middle photo is by an artist named Hiba Zakut. Some of you may have heard of her. She was an artist in Gaza and a family member of mine who was killed about a month ago in Gaza by Israeli rocket fire. And really, I wanted to also show her art because her art has been very inspiring for the people of Gaza, and her voice has also been very important. So in many of our pieces now, we've actually been uplifting her art because we want to recognize and remember her for the work that she did for our movements. And then lastly, this piece on the far right, some of you may have seen this before. It's called, this boy's name is named Handala. He was drawn by an artist named Naji Al-Ali. And Naji Al-Ali was known as one of the most important artists and political figures of Palestine. Naji Al-Ali created this figure, Handala. It's supposed to represent all refugees of Palestine and refugees around the world. And the reason he drew him this way, you notice he's not facing us, he's facing outward. And the reason that Naji Al-Ali actually created him this way is because he said he would not have Handala face the world until Palestine was free. So to this day, this was made in the 70s, I believe. To this day, we still use this art piece to represent our struggles, to represent refugees, and to represent that one day we do want to see Handala, we do want to see our people free. Naji Al-Ali was actually assassinated by the state of Israel because of the power of his political cartoons. And it just, again, is a testament to the power of art. When literally people have to censor you for your art, it means your art is making an impact for our movements. Let's go to our next piece, our next slide. And so another thing I wanted to really connect is, Cal talked a little bit about, I know Cal's not with us right now, but Cal talked a little bit about some of the struggles that they face and just being able to access art. And one thing I wanted to uplift, and this is a project AROC is a part of. It's called Art Against Imprisonment. You can actually look it up, artagainstimprisonment.org, I believe. And this is actually art from incarcerated or formerly incarcerated people in solidarity with Palestine. Gaza right now, many of you may have heard that Gaza is considered what is known as like an open air prison. So there are 2.4 million people in the Gaza Strip who are not allowed in and not allowed out without the explicit permission of the Israeli government. They don't have access to their borders. They don't have access to food, water. Israel literally counts the number of calories. They don't have access to the drinking water, and the electricity is controlled by Israel. So literally every aspect of their lives, even though they have freedom of movement within Gaza, outside of Gaza, and Gaza is one of the densest populations in the world. For those of you who are familiar with the Bay Area, Gaza is about the size of San Francisco, San Mateo, and Daly City combined, which is a really small strip. You can drive the length of it for about 30 minutes. But it's 2.4 million people living there. So we recognize the importance of our prisoners, especially Palestinians who have been imprisoned because they have been resisting occupation or literally for just being Palestinian. I think the stat right now is about 1 in 4 Palestinian men at some point in their lives have been detained and imprisoned by Israeli government officials. And so for us, we see a clear connection between the struggle and the fight for people who are incarcerated and the struggle for Palestine. Let's go next. And I love to uplift other people's art because I think for us, we're all a part of our movement. I personally identify as a cultural worker because for me, I see the use of using art and culture in different ways. I started as a youth organizer. So when I first became an organizer, my thinking was, oh, if I know how to do a little bit of each type of art, I can teach it to some youth, whether it's to do like mural or screen printing or beat making. I was like, if I could teach youth a little bit of something, they can take it from me and like go further with it. And so this is some of the visual art that I've done. The first piece is an art piece I collaborated with someone named Priya Honda. This is a photo of Rasmia Odeh. She was an organizer who created a women's organization in Chicago that is still actually over 800 Arab women strong. They actually went after her for her organizing, and after years of legal battles, they were actually able to strip her of citizenship and deport her to Jordan. She's not even from Jordan. Her name is Rasmia Odeh. She actually set a precedent for a lot of folks in movement spaces who were naturalized citizens. Now there is actually a question around how much can they organize before they actually get targeted by the government. This middle piece was a piece that I did of this little girl I met in Palestine. She came up to me with an olive in her fingers and she was like, do you know what this is? And as I mentioned before, the olive is a very important, it's not just an important symbol, but an important source of nourishment and life for Palestine. We pride ourselves on olives, we pride ourselves on olive oil, and it's very important. And then the piece on the top on the far right, this is our Arab Liberation mural. So this was a mural that we did with AROC. You notice that there are cactuses, and within the cactuses, there are different Arab figures. And the reason we use cacti is because cactuses grow both on Turtle Island here in this land in the United States, and they grow in Palestine. So we thought that that was an important visual to make that land connection between Turtle Island and Palestine. On the top, it's a Tunisian poem about freedom that's written in Arabic. And some of the people here listed are not just Palestinian, but we also have people from Morocco, people from Yemen. And really, this was a source of just like our collective liberation and collective pride as Arab within the Bay Area. And the signs that you see right under the people are actually signs that say things like no war or end Zionism or stop urban shield or block the boat. These are signs that actually uplift the campaigns that have ties to Palestine and why we uplifted them. On the bottom left, that's the Hello Solidarity with Palestine thing that I mentioned. Right now, that is sitting actually in the president of the ILWU's office. So the workers to this day know that they stand with Palestine, and they have made it a point to go to every city council, whether it's in San Francisco, whether it's in Oakland, whether it's in Richmond, to speak on behalf of workers. The middle piece is a summer project that I worked on. I decided I wanted to make one artistic piece a day, and then I slowly combined them all to make this huge image. And for me, I'm a huge fan of sci-fi. So I really wanted to kind of uplift old looking styles with some like sci-fi future styles. It's hard to see all of it, but this fills out an entire hallway. It's a huge piece. And on the piece on the bottom right, this was also part of the Free Resmia Ode campaign. This was one segment of a wall. So students specifically in Berkeley, every year they have something called Palestine Awareness Week or Israel Apartheid Week, where they actually share with other students what's happening in Palestine. And they have this mock wall that they build to signify the apartheid wall that's in Palestine. And this was one segment of this wall that I created to uplift the struggle of Resmia Ode. Can we go to the next slide, please? And so I also wanted to just share that, you know, as I said, I'm a cultural worker. I also do some music. The song that you heard, during the break is, we'll go back music slide. The song that you heard during the break is on the right. You could see it. It's actually on Bandcamp, and hopefully we could send that to you. And then on the left, this is my music that is on SoundCloud. And this is music that I've made with different folks from our communities, as well as folks from other movements. I actually want to give a shout out to my producer who's actually sitting with us here, Knox. Appreciate you for joining us, brother. He's the guy behind me right there. This is supposed to be me animated. But we called this album From Stolen Land to Stolen Land because we recognize the connections of settler colonialism. Just like here in this country, people use manifest destiny. Manifest destiny is not Christianity, but it used Christianity as a vehicle to justify colonial expansion. In Palestine, Zionism is not Judaism, but it uses Judaism as a vehicle to justify colonial expansion. So we named this album From Stolen Land to Stolen Land, really to highlight just the different struggles that are happening and the ways in which they tie into Palestine and our liberation. And to share a little bit about some of the work that I'm currently doing, if we can go to the next slide. So currently I'm working on a musical project. I'm doing something a little different. I've always been really interested and fascinated, you know, with doing more things that really create interventions in art spaces that honestly don't have a left pole that we can look to. And so when I first joined People's Hub's program, the artist residency program, Joe posed this question, is like, I think the question was, what is the intervention we could make on the left? Or someone posed that question to me and I sat with it and I was like, do I want to make another album? Do I want to make another music video? Does that feel like it would be impactful on the left? And what I landed on was, you know what? I really want to create a lefty musical, and a musical that I think everyone can relate to, but a musical that actually really stands out as something that can easily, we can see kind of like the kind of what I call it hakifadi, empty words. Like I live in California, I live in the Bay Area. We have so many elected representatives who talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. And for me, this musical project was a way of actually making an intervention in that, an intervention in liberalism and kind of like the limitations of liberalism and just having kind of like lip service to our movements. So this musical I'm working on, I'm still working on it. It's a very early project. I have a few scenes, songs. It's set in the early 2000s, the cringiest period of my lifetime, which is why I wanted to do that. We wanted to really show that capitalism is the cringiest thing in our lives. And we wanted to make it really about the underlying harms and limitations of liberalism. This is something where I am making a full 2-act written and produced musical. It is a story about a working class Palestinian family and a muralist specifically who is struggling with getting more fame and attention and struggling with this politics around his artwork. So for me, it's really about the intersections of art, the struggles in Palestine, and also the political scenes in San Francisco that speak to the current political conditions we're living with today, right? Lack of housing, lack of healthcare, all the things that we really need instead of war making and militarism. And so for me, I wanted to engage and embark in this project to make a cultural contribution for our left. When I ask people what are lefty musicals you think of, most people will tell me Rent, or will tell me things like Hamilton. And even though Hamilton, yes, has representation from Black and brown communities, which is important, it fails short of really actually digging into the problematic parts of like the founding of our history and our country. And so for me, I want to make an intervention in the musical world. Let's go to the next slide, please. And so I also lastly wanted to just highlight some more art pieces that focus on international solidarity. On the left, this is a piece done by Cici Carpio, who's a artist with Trust Your Struggle in Oakland. Handala, this is the same picture of Handala, but then this is also a solidarity photo with folks in Mindanao and the struggles in Mindanao in the Philippines. In the middle, this is called the Oakland to Palestine Solidarity Mural. It is a large mural with different muralists. So this includes Chris Ghazaleh, who I mentioned earlier, and it includes actually Emory Douglas, who is the cultural minister of the Black Panther Party. He is the third tree that you can see in the middle. So the woman hugging the tree, that is Emory Douglas. So he is the one who literally created the Black Panther from the Black Panther Party logo. He is deeply in solidarity with our struggles. And then lastly, on the top right, we actually had a group of folks, they're called Bangkit Arise. They're an Indonesian group who came to visit San Francisco, and they wanted to do a solidarity mural for Palestine. And what they did is they actually did this huge flag, and all the words are all the names of the martyrs who were killed by the Israeli government just in that year. And so for me, I thought this was also it's just a beautiful mural. Look at all of that. They also have a quote from the president of Indonesia in the 1950s, Sukarno, who really was one of the main motivators and drivers of the Bandung Conference. And the Bandung Conference, for folks, just for a short history, was part of the non-aligned movement. So during the height of kind of like the Cold War, it was, between the fight of like communism versus capitalism, or more appropriately, the United States versus the USSR. There was a non-aligned movement, so many countries came together and said, you know what, we want to have our own third world solidarity. And this was invoking kind of that third world solidarity with Palestine from Indonesia. Let's go to the next slide. And so I wanted to also, I feel like, art is incredibly important, not just for our struggles, and also incredibly important for this moment. And I really wanted to just take a moment to talk about what is happening in Gaza, because not only is it important because my family is there, but it is important because what's happening in Palestine is related to all of our struggles. Oftentimes we say, why are we so focused on addressing the state of Israel? Well, Israel is located on occupied Palestinian land, and Palestine is at the intersections of Asia, Africa, and Europe. On top of that, Palestine is literally a place where they test military weapons. So things like drone technology, ankle monitors, the Uzi, the Galilee, drone tech, most of that comes from the state of Israel. And they sell that to our police departments here in the US to be used on Black and brown communities. And they sell it to repressive governments all around the world, whether it was Modi in India, or Bolsonaro when he was in power in Brazil, or the Philippines army currently under the Marcos dictatorship. Israel has a very clear role in worldwide repression. And so for us, uplifting the importance of the solidarity with Palestine is really to be in solidarity with all of our movements. If you can go to the next slide. And so what we're seeing now, Gaza, as I mentioned, is an open-air prison. Gaza is one of the most dense populations in the world. If you are a 16-year-old in Gaza and you are still alive, you have lived through 8 bombardments in your lifetime. The psychological condition of Gazans is horrible at the moment, and there is no safe place in Gaza. And the reason why this is specifically important, I want to uplift that there are genocides and there is injustices happening all over the world, whether it's in Sudan, in Tigray, in other parts of the world. But what makes this so particular is that the United States is green-lighting this genocide. The United States gives more money to the state of Israel than every other country combined. The state of Israel literally has free healthcare for its own citizens that is being paid for by our tax dollars. Here in San Francisco, of that 3.4 billion a year, just from that 3.4 billion, not including the additional aid we give throughout the year, not including the 14 billion that was just passed, including for Ukraine, just San Francisco, the slice of pie to that 3.4 billion is about 14 million. So this is very much a local issue. This is money that should be going into housing, that should be going into healthcare, that should be going into bettering our lives, not toward war and militarism. If you can go to the next slide, please. I also want to just uplift that there have been many, many, many instances where Palestinians have peacefully tried to uplift their conditions and the siege on Gaza specifically. So for a few highlights, in 2014, there was the Gaza Freedom Flotilla. These were different ships coming from different nations. So Turkish ships, US ships, all that. While they were trying to reach Gaza to bring food and humanitarian aid, they were boarded by the Israeli government. I believe 4 people were killed, and they were never able to get that aid through. If you go to the next slide, please. If you look at the Great Gaza March of Return in 2018, you had thousands of Gazans march to the border demanding their freedom of movement, demanding their dignity. And even though they showed up protesting en masse peacefully, on the right side, this is day 100. They were met with chemical weapons and attacks from the Israeli government. They sniped people. They've killed hundreds of people during the Great March of Return. And so I really just want to uplift that there has been absolutely no tactic that has allowed Palestinians to be seen for their full level of dignity. In fact, we've seen the opposite. We've seen a massive campaign of dehumanization of Palestinians. Let's go next. And so Gaza today, this destruction is fully contributed by our US tax dollars. And I mentioned earlier, right now, we are pushing for a ceasefire resolution in San Francisco. These ceasefire resolutions are the bare minimum. This is the floor, not the ceiling. This is literally saying, stop killing, stop the violence. Let us move to the next level of being able to figure out how we can get beyond this violence. And even a ceasefire has become completely controversial. And so I want to encourage everyone here today, whether you're an artist, whether you're with an organization, the freedom of Palestine is not going to be, is not going to come through Palestinians alone. This is going to come through all of us. Freedom for Palestine means freedom for all of our movements. And what we need is mass movement, international solidarity. And we need to keep pushing on our folks to continue to push for ceasefire, because this is funded through our US tax dollars. And so we know that these ceasefire resolutions aren't enough, but it's a start, and it's a way to literally just stop the killing of our families back home so that they have a chance to breathe, to figure out next steps. And I want to be clear that we have seen mass demonstrations from anti-Zionist Jewish communities, from allied communities all over the globe, including here in the United States. This is the only two sides to this issue are people who are for genocide and people who are fighting back against genocide. Those are the two sides. And so I just want to really appreciate you all for giving me the space. I know I'm kind of doing both a PE and like artist talk, but I really wanted to just explicitly name the importance of this moment, because it is an important moment for our movements, and it is directly connected to all of our movements. And so for my last slide, thank you for having me. I want to just encourage you all to take action. There's a US campaign for Palestinian rights, the same tool I named that talks about what each city is giving toward the 3.4 billion a year. That tool is on US Campaign for Palestinian Rights. I would also encourage you all to donate to the Middle East Children's Alliance. which is an organization here in Berkeley, California, that is actually giving money to Gaza. I will say right now, getting money to Gaza is extremely difficult right now because of the conditions on the ground. So alternatively, I would also encourage you all to donate to places like AROC, the Arab Resource and Organizing Center, or PYM, or other local organizations that you may live around, because our organizations are the ones keeping the momentum going on the ground, and we need the support to continue making that happen. And then lastly, if you would like to support myself as an artist or as a Ghazawi, or my friend Chris in our art, all of the work that we do is in service to our movements and is in service to our families. Feel free to also donate to me if you feel inclined to, but I really would just encourage you all to give to our movements at this time. So thank you all so much. Happy to stick around for a little bit for questions. And I do have to leave in a little to hit public comment, but thank you all so much for having me here today. And free Palestine.
Thank you so much for that. I'm just gonna ask if people have questions. And thank you for the political education, because I feel like that needs to be infused in our art and infused in all of the spaces that we hold for our communities. And so no apologies needed. The political education is so important, especially during this time. Are there any questions for Sharif? Because just because we have the time allotted, if you all have questions, now would be the time to either come off mute or type it in the chat and I will read it for you. I'll just say, while people are thinking of their brilliant questions, I'm still, every time I hear about the musical project, even though I was there when you say it, my mind is still blown that of all the things that you can do during the fellowship, you chose a musical. And so I'm just hoping that you give Hamilton a run for its money.
I really hope so too. Dude is, politics are shit, but dude is talented, so I hope so too.
Any questions? Because if not, I'm gonna let Sharif go. Deborah shared appreciate, and it's quite amazing that you went about learning all different art modes, at least enough of it so that you could pass along to youth. And so that was an appreciation from Deborah. Any questions? And then people are asking to paint a mural. So we can definitely connect you so that can happen. Yes, I see a hand, and I don't want to butcher your name.
It's all good. It's Shelvanaya. Thank you, Joe. And Sharif, I just wanted to, well, first, just thank you. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for the education and how you fused all of that together. I mean, this presentation was an art form in and of itself, and it's just really beautiful. So thank you for that. My question is basically, how do you take care of yourself? What are your self-care, community care, all the same thing kind of practices? If you could speak to that real quick. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for the question. I mean, I'll be completely honest here. I think self-care has been incredibly difficult for me at this moment. I mean, every day is different. I have family on the ground in Gaza, and I think in the last 2 months, I've been really struggling to find that kind of balance to this day. I'm incredibly blessed. I have an organization that loves and cares for me. I have friends and people who check up on me. Literally, people have been like sending me DoorDash or like bringing me health kits and different things like that. And so I am honestly just completely moved by our level of solidarity and level of community that I have. And I know not everyone is lucky to have that level of community. It's hard. I mean, there are some days where I feel like I'm able to manage and I'm able to do things. And like today, it's hard to, y'all don't know me, but I had a much struffier beard and I was able to like clean up a little bit today for the first time. But I mean, yeah, it's still a challenge. I think right now moving my body has been really important. Just like taking 20 minutes at the very least to stretch, to like ask for help, which is really difficult for me. Ask people for help for like groceries, things like that. I'm still learning how to do that, but I think I have the tools for it. And I know many other Palestinians are kind of also dealing with very similar things. We've been kind of on this like high adrenaline rapid response mode for almost 2 months now. And this is just at the ceasefire. Who knows what's going to happen after the ceasefire? So we are now kind of in a moment where we're mentally prepping ourselves for like, okay, it's hard to do that. The other piece of it is there's a level of guilt. I mean, I straight up sometimes just feel guilty. I have access to people who are offering massages, who are offering me food, offering me other things. And like, my family doesn't have that. They barely, they can't even sleep at night. They're so scared from just like whether or not that's their last day to live on this earth. So it's still a challenge, if I'm being real. But I think it's really important for us to take care of ourselves, and I am getting better with that, admittedly. But it's still a little hard some days.
In the chat, Kareen asked if there was any symbolism to the red in your keffiyeh.
Yeah, the keffiyeh itself is a symbol, just the black and white pieces. I got this keffiyeh kind of specially made. It has stitching of tatreez, which is like a type of embroidery that usually Palestinian women engage with and wear. But I really liked kind of the merging of these two Palestinian symbols. And so my keffiyeh has this stitched in. I got it from this place called Watan Palestine, Watan, which made them, and I ordered one. Most of them aren't like this. They don't have the stitching, but the embroidery is specific to just like cultural Palestinian embroidery made by Palestinian women.
And then Dustin, I saw your digital hand.
Yeah, this is Dustin. First of all, thank you. Yeah, like the art that you shared was incredible, and like I told you before, we've been playing like the music everywhere, and I feel like that's like yeah, that's something that's like typically when we've been thinking about art, especially for the fellowship, so much of it is visual, and the expansion to like music production like felt very important, and like a way of like cultural connection, at least for me. One of the things that has been lifted up in some of our other like disability justice programs is we've been like applauding the AROC meeting from maybe like 3 weeks ago, or like a mass meeting about ceasefire where everybody was fully masked, like 1,000. So I just want to see if you can share like any insights into that. Like it's like 1,000 people in a space with mask on is like a huge symbol of like solidarity, at least for like the disabled communities. And like if you share any insights like the importance of that or how it happened.
Oof. I don't know if I have much insight. Are you asking about the mass meeting with like how do we just get that done? And
yeah, just
I mean,
that's like no small feat.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we're really lucky in some ways in the Bay Area. I've talked to folks about it. I think because we come from a history and background of like the Black Panther parties, of organizing, all of that, I think there's just a general consciousness around social justice, right? And, AROC, we've been doing this work even, pre this moment for years. We've been building, we understand the importance of building long-term solidarity, of going beyond, oftentimes we talk about like boycott, divest, and sanctions, BDS. BDS usually is like an individual, like I will not buy Sabra hummus because it gives money to the Israeli army and because it tastes horrible. Like what we are trying to do is actually like, how are we able to change the framework of like boycott, divest, and sanctions to include like labor literally saying we are not going to pull this. That was work we did back in 2014, and we've continued to keep those relationships. We also are one of the leaders of a coalition for Safe San Francisco, and we are one of the only places in the Bay Area that offer Arabic translation. So language justice, I mean, some of our work sometimes has nothing to do with Palestine. It's about language justice. It's about having Arabic in our schools. It's about working. We worked with the Vietnamese community that was also underrepresented in San Francisco to pass both Arabic and Vietnamese language. We were able to work with, different communities, whether it's, the queer community, like Queers Undermining Israeli Terror, to like address pinkwashing and to address also like some of the splits we see in the queer community in San Francisco around what's happening in Palestine. We've built these deep roots. In the end, organizing always comes down to relationship building. So I think when this moment hit, we were like, we were just like back to back trying to organize things. We were slammed. And then I would say like folks recognize, oh, this is a moment. Oh, we need to step up. And people have been donating staff time. People have been donating, like the mass meeting we held was developed by this group called Bay Resistance, which was founded when Trump came into office, and they built this container to make sure that our immigrant communities were safe in the Bay Area. They actually were not activated since the Trump administration, but given this issue, they were like, we're reactivating Bay Resistance. We already had a mass call list, and we put out the call, and people showed up because they understand, and we've done that work. They understand the connection between what's happening in the Bay with their lives and what's happening in Palestine, specifically in Gaza at this moment. So like, I feel like that's not like super like inspiration. I mean, it may be in some way, but I'm like, yeah, we just put out the call and people showed up is really all I wanted to say. But it took years of organizing.
Any other questions before we let Sharif go?
This
What-
is Deborah. Does it sound like
Okay.
does it sound like it's winning tonight? You said you were hearing things.
I don't think they were ready for the amount of people that showed up, that I will say. So tonight they're actually not voting on it. We knew that San Francisco is a little different than some of our other Bay Area cities. Usually they have the full board and then they hear public comment, general public comment, and then most likely they'll give it to a committee where it goes to like 3 or 4 people. And it's possible they may not bring it back to a full board to actually vote. So we intentionally made the decision, hey, y'all, there is actually no vote tonight, but we need to show up because the full board needs to see just who's throwing down. But we have the teachers, like UESF, the United Educators of San Francisco. We're the first teachers union in the country to write a resolution in support of BDS a couple of years ago. And they've now actually co-signed organizing people here. We have ILW workers here. We have the janitors union here. We have labor. We have queer community. We have the Black community. We have the Latino community. We have Chinese monolingual speakers here, right? Like literally everyone in the community is throwing down, and the level of solidarity is incredible and really just keeping me going in this moment, if I'm being real.
Yeah, I do think it's important for people to support you while also contributing to movement. So I just want to plug that this work is hard work, and it is hard work to be a cultural worker in the midst of this current iteration of the culture wars that we're seeing. And so I just wanted to just say, Sharif, I hope that you don't mind me doing this, but I do think it's important to support our movement artists because they're oftentimes some of the most supported, but not always supported financially. And as you can see from just this brief snapshot that Sharif put together, this is just a small window into the breadth of the work that I got to come to know over this last year. And so if you can support the causes and send a little love to Sharif and Chris, I know that they would greatly appreciate it because a lot of times people don't really know what it takes to paint the mural or to produce the song or to convene a group of friends in retreat to work on a musical, right? And so I just ask that I hope you are feeling inspired tonight by both Kal-El and Sharif. And I just ask that if you have an interest in a print of Cal's, please contact us. We can put you in touch with the people that can help facilitate that. But the art needs resources. And so I would also like to plug this program at People's Hub. This was started on a dream to provide a space for artists to get together and do political education while also getting support financially. And so your support of People's Hub enables us to support financially people like Sharif and Kal-El. And so, yeah, just asking that as you consider giving, to please support the arts with your money as well. So thank you, Sharif, and thank each of you for being present. This has been such an amazing time tonight. And I hope you can get a little sense of what our check-ins were like with both Cal, Sharif, and Ebony and Joshua, who were our other two artists. And so thank you all. Be well, and thank you all for spending your evening with us.
Thank you all so much. Have a good night, everybody.
Go get in line, Sharif.
I will. I'll keep y'all posted. Follow A-Rock, you'll see what it looks like. Bye, y'all.
Employers are on the lookout for defined skills, and a University of Phoenix business degree is built on them, giving you the skills to stand out. Plus, eligible transfer credits could cover up to 75% of your bachelor's. Get started at phoenix.edu.